Have you ever wondered how cells, the building blocks of life, protect themselves and control what goes in and out? These microscopic entities use a remarkable strategy to maintain their integrity and regulate their interactions with the outside world. It all comes down to a fundamental structure called the plasma membrane. This thin layer, often overlooked, plays a pivotal role in cellular function and survival. So how does it do this? The answer lies in a thin layer known as the plasma membrane. The plasma membrane, also known as the cell membrane, plays a vital role in protecting the integrity of the cell. It's a microscopic marvel, a thin, flexible layer that not only shelters the contents of the cell, but also regulates what goes in and out. Let's delve a bit deeper into the structure of the plasma membrane. At its core, it's composed of a double layer of phospholipids, which are unique molecules that have a hydrophilic, or water-loving head, and a hydrophobic, or water-fearing tail. This arrangement creates a lipid bilayer, where the heads face outward towards the water environments inside and outside the cell, while the tails hide inside, away from the water. Interspersed within this lipid bilayer are proteins. Some of these proteins span the whole width of the membrane, acting like bridges, while others only partially penetrate from one side or the other. These proteins are not merely spectators. They serve as channels, transporters, receptors, and enzymes, playing active roles in a variety of cellular processes. Carbohydrates also make a special guest appearance on the plasma membrane stage. They are often attached to the proteins or lipids on the outer side of the membrane, forming what we call glycoproteins and glycolipids. These carbohydrate attachments are like ID cards, helping cells recognize each other and communicate. And let's not forget about cholesterol, the supporting actor in our membrane story. Cholesterol molecules are interspersed among the phospholipids in the membrane's interior, where they regulate fluidity and maintain membrane stability. So there you have it, a complex mosaic of phospholipids, proteins, carbohydrates, and cholesterol, each component with its own part to play in the grand cellular drama. This unique structure allows the plasma membrane to perform its essential functions. It's not just a wall, but a dynamic, bustling city gate, carefully controlling traffic in and out of the cell. Stay tuned as we explore more about how this gate operates in the next scene. Imagine the plasma membrane as a gatekeeper, controlling the traffic of molecules in and out of the cell. Now, this is not just any gatekeeper, but one with a keen sense of discernment. The plasma membrane possesses a characteristic we call selective permeability, a trait that allows it to be picky about what it lets in and what it keeps out. Picture this, a dense crowd of molecules knocking on the cell's door, each with a different purpose. Some are nutrients, eager to fuel the cell's activities. Others are waste products, itching to leave the cell's premises. And then there are those unwelcome guests, harmful substances that could jeopardize the cell's well-being. The plasma membrane, with its selective permeability, decides who gets a pass and who doesn't. It's like a bouncer at an exclusive club, checking each molecule's ID at the door. Molecules that are small and non-polar, like oxygen and carbon dioxide, get the VIP treatment. They can slip right through the lipid bilayer without any fuss. Then, there are the larger, polar molecules like glucose and ions. They need a little help to get across. They rely on special protein channels and carriers, kind of like needing a VIP pass to get inside the club. But the plasma membrane doesn't just control who comes in and out, it also regulates how much. It's a balance act, really. The cell needs just the right amount of each molecule to function properly. Too much or too little could throw the whole operation off kilter. So, you see, the plasma membrane is not just a simple boundary. It's a complex and dynamic gatekeeper, always on the lookout for the cell's best interests. It's the cell's first line of defense, its traffic controller, its bouncer, and its balance keeper. All these roles are crucial to the cell's survival and function. In this way, the plasma membrane maintains the balance of substances inside and outside the cell. But how exactly do substances cross this gatekeeper? Ah, the mystery of transport across the membrane. Let's dive into it. First, let's start with passive transport. This is the cell's version of going with the flow. It doesn't require any energy because substances simply move from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. The two main types of passive transport are diffusion and osmosis. Diffusion is all about balance. It's like a crowd at a concert. If there are more people on one side of the venue, naturally, they'll start to spread out to the less crowded side. That's diffusion in action. In cells, molecules like oxygen and carbon dioxide use diffusion to cross the membrane, spreading out to create an equilibrium. Osmosis is a specific type of diffusion, but it concerns water. It's like when you have a raisin in a cup of water. The water will move into the raisin, where there's a lower concentration of water, causing it to swell. In cells, water uses osmosis to balance its concentration inside and outside the cell. Now, let's switch gears to active transport. This is the cell's version of going against the grain. It requires energy because substances are moving from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration. It's like trying to walk against a crowd at a concert. It's not easy, and you're going to need some energy to do it. In cells, pumps are used to actively transport ions like sodium and potassium across the membrane. Last, but certainly not least, we have vesicular transport. This is the cell's version of shipping and receiving. It's how larger molecules or groups of molecules get in or out of the cell. There are two types, endocytosis and exocytosis. Endocytosis is like the cell's mail receipt system. The membrane wraps around a substance, forming a vesicle, and brings it into the cell. It's how cells take in nutrients they can't transport through the membrane. Exocytosis is the opposite. It's like the cell's mail delivery system. The substance is packaged into a vesicle inside the cell. Then the vesicle fuses with the membrane and releases the substance outside the cell. It's the way cells get rid of waste or send out signals to other cells. These transport mechanisms ensure that the cell gets what it needs and gets rid of what it doesn't. Without these systems, the cell wouldn't be able to maintain the balance it needs to survive. So, while the membrane may seem like a simple barrier, it's actually a complex gatekeeper, controlling the comings and goings of the cell with precision and efficiency. The plasma membrane does more than just control traffic. It's an active participant in numerous cellular processes, a bustling hub of activity that involves more than just the comings and goings of molecules. One of its key roles is in cell signaling. It's like the cell's command center, receiving and processing information from the environment and other cells. Proteins embedded in the plasma membrane, known as receptors, pick up signals in the form of chemical messengers. These messengers might be hormones, neurotransmitters, or other molecules. Once these signals are received, the receptor proteins trigger a cascade of events within the cell, leading to a specific response. The plasma membrane also plays a part in cell adhesion. It helps cells stick to each other and to their surroundings. This is critical in many biological processes, from tissue formation to immune responses. Special proteins on the membrane surface called adhesion molecules facilitate this binding process. Furthermore, the plasma membrane is involved in cell recognition. Each cell has unique molecules on its surface that act like an ID card, telling other cells, "This is who I am." These molecules help the immune system distinguish self from non-self, preventing it from attacking our own cells. So you see, the plasma membrane is not just a passive barrier. It's a dynamic and complex component of the cell, involved in communication, adhesion, and recognition. Indeed, the plasma membrane is a dynamic and complex component of the cell. So, to wrap up our journey into the world of the plasma membrane, let's take a moment to marvel at the complexity of this cellular marvel. This living boundary made up of a phospholipid bilayer is the gatekeeper of the cell, controlling what enters and exits. It's not just a passive barrier, but an active participant in cellular processes. The plasma membrane, with its embedded proteins, enables various transport mechanisms, including passive diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and active transport. It's a bustling hub of activity, keeping the cell's internal environment stable while allowing necessary exchanges with the outside world. But the plasma membrane is more than just a barrier and gatekeeper. It's also involved in cell signaling, cell adhesion, and even intracellular transport. It's a multitasking maestro, maintaining the delicate balance of life at a cellular level. The plasma membrane, the unsung hero of the cell, ensures life as we know it continues. Subscribe for more insights into the fascinating world of biology.